Coming up.
Deadly shooting. Tragedy strikes in Thousand Oaks as a gunman opens fire on innocent patrons at a popular bar. Today, what we're learning about the shooter and the victims. California in flames. Deadly wildfires burning on both ends of the state. Coming up, we'll show you the devastation, have information on acreage and containment, and have the president's response. Plus, Democrats take back control of the House, a closer look at what this really means, and Jeff Sessions out as Attorney General. We'll bring you the latest and info on his replacement. Also, news regarding the White House suspending a CNN reporter's press pass, who won local elections, and an FDA crackdown that could have a major effect on vape products like Juul. Now, from the SRHS broadcast team, this is a special report. Chaos and confusion. 13 people are dead after a gunman opens fire in a popular Thousand Oaks bar.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this special report. I'm Eric Wasserman. The gunman, who's now been identified, walking into that bar and grill, opening fire at random. Listen to one father whose son is a victim describe the situation.
And we did just get the news that he was one of the 11 that were killed last night. Yeah. I talked to him last night before he headed out the door. First thing I said was, please don't drink and drive. Last thing I said was, son, I love you. That was the last thing I said.
Yeah, just so sad indeed. 200 people packed inside that bar and grill. Survivors literally having to run for their lives. Take a listen.
I just ran as far as I could, as fast as I could.
Today, our nation is still grieving, almost a week after the deadly shooting in Thousand Oaks, California. The gunman, identified as 28-year-old Ian Long, walking into the crowded Borderline Bar and Grill on college night, firing his .45 caliber Glock handgun. 12 people were killed in the ordeal, many college students, before Long turned the gun on himself. The shooting, which occurred just after 11 p.m. last Wednesday, rocking what was once called the safest city in America. As investigators dig in for answers, more information is coming to light about Long's troubled past. A former machine gunner in the Marines, Long was a trained killer, having served time in Afghanistan. Police were called to Long's home in April for reports of a disturbance and felt that he might be suffering from PTSD, but they ultimately cleared him. The gun used in the attack was purchased legally back in 2016, but Long had a high-capacity adapter attached to the gun, illegal in the state of California. Cal State Northridge confirming Long was a student, but saying he did not graduate. Among the dead is Ventura County Sheriff Sergeant Ron Hellis, who was among the first officers to arrive at the bar, where he was shot multiple times trying to stop the gunman. 54-year-old Hellis loved fishing with his son and was hoping to retire within the next year or two after 29 years on the force. He was honored Thursday, as thousands turned out for a procession. Also killed in the attack, 22-year-old Cody Gifford Kaufman, who lost his life shielding others from bullets. A Napa girl is also among the dead, 18-year-old Elena Housley, who graduated from Vintage High School last year, was enjoying time with friends at the bar when she was fatally shot and killed. Housley is the niece of actress Tamara Mowry Housley and former Fox News correspondent Adam Housley. Listen as friends describe her.
She's just such a nice person and so innocent.
And a procession was held for Elena Housley back in her hometown of Napa on Sunday. Thousands of people showing up to support her and her family. We'll have a tribute to all of the victims of the deadly shooting coming up at the end of this broadcast, but we move now to the deadly wildfires raging in northern and southern California. One fire, in fact, burning in Ventura County, the Woolsey Fire burning very close to where the shooting took place. But we begin up in Butte County. That's where the Camp Fire, the most destructive wildfire in California history, is burning.
Heavenly Father, please help us. Please help us to be safe.
The video is hard to watch. A woman prays as she escapes the brutal firestorm that absolutely devastated the town of Paradise. The campfire started back on Thursday, just after 6:30 a.m. Firefighters were initially called to a report of a brush fire under PG&E lines near Poe Dam on the Feather River. Arriving just 10 minutes later, the first fire units on scene observed rapid fire growth and extreme fire behavior, partially due to the low humidity and high winds in the area. Some call it the perfect storm. Due to the speed in which the fire spread, many residents of Paradise had no time to evacuate. The town in Butte County, near Chico, was home to over 27,000 people, but it's been absolutely obliterated.
How much damage?
It's gone.
Neighborhoods, areas just wiped.
So percentage-wise?
I would say close to 90% from what I've seen so
90%
far.
of the town?
90% of the town.
Firefighters abandoned suppression efforts and went into rescue mode, but for many, it was too late. Cars were left abandoned along evacuation routes. People literally ran for their lives with the clothes on their back. By 8 p.m. that night, the fire had burned nearly 20,000 acres and threatened up to 15,000 structures. Firefighters, who have been dealing with very high winds reaching over 50 miles an hour, have since gained 30% control on the blaze. However, the fire has reached over 117,000 acres, destroyed 7,177 structures, including over 6,000 single-family homes, and killed 43 people. It's now the deadliest and most destructive fire in our state's history. The fire also started on the same day that 2 fires broke out in SoCal. The Hill and Wolseley fire are burning in LA and Ventura County. So far, the Wolseley fire has burned over 91,000 acres and destroyed 370 structures. Burning near largely populated areas, the fire has forced up to 260,000 people to flee their homes. The fire has burned sections of Malibu, Agora Hills, and Thousand Oaks, not far from where the shooting took place. Pepperdine University was also threatened by fire. They, along with Chico State back in Butte County, have canceled classes through Thanksgiving. The fire destroyed several iconic movie sets, as well as celebrity homes, including Robin Thicke. Rapper Lil Pump's home was also damaged. President Trump has reacted to the fires on Twitter. Over the weekend, he threatened to pull federal funding for California over the fires because of, quote, gross mismanagement of the forests. Of the state's 33 million acres of forests, federal agencies, including the Forest Service and Interior Department, own and manage 57%. 40% are owned by families, Native American tribes, or companies, including industrial timber companies, and just 3% are actually owned and managed by state and local agencies. The fires burning in Northern and Southern California didn't actually start in the forest either. Instead, they started in what is known as wildland-urban interface, places where communities are close to undeveloped areas, making it easier for fire to move from forests or grasslands into neighborhoods. On Monday, however, the president did approve a major disaster declaration for California.
As you can see behind me, the smoky conditions have made their way to the Bay Area. As a matter of fact, over the weekend, it led to multiple NCS football games having to get rescheduled. Also, the Half Moon Bay Half Marathon was canceled as a result of the smoky conditions. Multiple spared the air dates were also in effect. Let's go ahead and get a check of your weather forecast for the remainder of the week.
Highs this week will remain in the mid to upper 60s. It looks like we may see a cooler weather pattern for the weekend with low 60s. Smoky conditions will remain throughout the week with spare the air days through Friday. And no rain in the 7-day forecast, but the possibility does arise next week.
Switching gears now, Democrats have taken back control of the House.
Democrats have taken back control of the House, taking over 30 seats from Republicans, thanks to a high turnout from suburban voters. A record number of women were also elected to Congress. As of Friday, CNN projected at least 100 women would win House races, with 35 newly elected to the House and 65 female incumbents. That beats the previous record of 85 representatives. Locally, San Rafael City Schools incumbent Board of Trustees members Rachel Kurtz and Natu Tuatagaloa, who are defending their seats against a strong challenge from a third candidate, will remain. Tuatagaloa got 39% of the vote, while Kurtz got 36% of the vote. The third candidate, John Marker, got just 25% of the vote. Jeff Sessions is out as Attorney General after being fired by President Trump Wednesday. Sessions submitted his resignation letter to White House Chief of Staff John Kelly. The 71-year-old Sessions had served as Attorney General for just under 22 months and was one of Trump's earliest supporters. Despite Sessions' loyalty and the fact that he played a major role in supporting Trump's hardline approach on immigration, in addition to backing his tough words on crime, was often criticized by the president. This is partially due to the fact that Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation. The president confirming Matthew Whitaker will take over as acting Attorney General. Whitaker has been openly critical of Mueller and the investigations, and Democrats called immediately on him to recuse himself, just as Sessions had. He is expected to take control of the Russia investigation and Special Counsel Robert Mueller from Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. The firing comes a day after Republicans held on to control of the Senate. Whitaker has been openly critical of the investigation in the past. Take a listen.
I could see a scenario where Jeff Sessions is replaced with a recess appointment, and that Attorney General doesn't fire Bob Mueller, but he just reduces the budget so low that his investigation grinds to almost a halt.
The truth is, there was no collusion with the Russians in the Trump campaign.
On to this now. CNN may sue after the White House pulls the press credentials of Chief White House Correspondent Jim Acosta.
A First Amendment lawyer says CNN should sue the Trump administration over its decision to suspend Chief White House Correspondent Jim Acosta's press pass. The incident stems from a press conference last week, Acosta asking Mr. Trump a question about his portrayal of immigrants. Acosta is accused of placing his hands on a White House intern trying to take away his microphone. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders has come under fire for tweeting a sped-up version of the video to make it look more incriminating. Kellyanne Conway supported the doctor video, claiming the technique of speeding up video is used all the time in sports.
Well, Chris, first of all, what do you mean by edited, or as others are saying, quote, doctored video? He either put his hands on her and grabbed the mic back, or he did not, and he clearly did.
No, he clearly did, but the video was altered, and there are experts who have looked at it to make it speed it up to make it look, pardon?
Oh, well, that's not altered, that's sped up. They do it all the time in sports to see if there's actually a first down or a touchdown.
Regardless, the president took multiple shots at Acosta during the press conference. Listen.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN. All right. And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better. I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Finally today, the FDA is planning on banning the sale of flavored e-cigarettes.
The agency will prohibit the sale of most flavored e-cigarettes in convenience stores and gas stations across the country. In addition, online retailers will only be able to sell flavored vapes if they can enact age verification requirements set out by the federal agency. There is, however, an exception. Mint and menthol flavors will still be sold.
And the move is an attempt to curb what many are saying is an epidemic of underage vaping use. All right, well, that does it for us. Thanks so much for joining us on this special report. I'm Eric Wasserman. For all of us here at the SRH broadcast team, have a great rest of your day. We leave you now with a somber tribute to the victims of the Thousand Oaks shooting.